name's John Baptiste. Yes, I'm your instructor for the night. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good. I mean, so before I get started being boring, like, tell me a little bit about each of you real quick, so I know who I'm talking to.
Okay, my name is Angie. I was
Angie?
online yesterday.
Okay.
I work right behind. I just started a new job, but I've been kind of job hopping for a little while. But I'm here today as new. I haven't done anything. Just interested.
Okay.
So I have a friend that told me about free classes, and then I signed up. So
Free training to become a realtor.
Yeah.
Well,
That's why I'm here.
let me ask you what makes you even want to become a realtor?
Well, 5 reasons of people just coming up to me and asking me or telling me about something about real estate. So if I'm a godly person and I say if something comes right in front of me and several times, God is trying to tell me something. So I am here because I've already asked questions to my friend who is a real estate agent and has been for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ran into another friend, she started talking to me. She was a real estate agent and she was about 4 years into it. And they seem to be doing fine, but not the first few years. So I don't know that. The test was kind of hard to get through. So hard to get ready to pass the first time.
It's a lot of information.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And I bought a few books and I read every night. So bought a book about flipping houses and a book about the exam.
Oh, okay.
Exam.
Well, I'll say this. It doesn't matter how long you've been in the business. Some people come out the gate and, first year and they're killing.
Yeah.
It's just how much dedication you'll put to,
Well, I do miss a mother right now. I do have an opportunity for my boyfriend to become a husband, and he has the money. So he's looking to flip houses and be very essential that I would help him out and contractors. He's doing his house right now, but he already has the money to try to flip his first house.
Right. Okay. It's quite there's a couple agents in here that had a similar situation. Spouse was contractor or flipping houses.
Yeah, it helps. Sure. Yeah, I mean, you have to have what I'm reading and getting to know is that the connection and knowing how to do it yourself or knowing somebody can do it for price and does a good job.
Okay. All right. Next.
My name is Angie. I started last month.
Okay.
I haven't done anything yet, but I'm talking about. I'm ready.
Where are you from?
I'm from Nepal originally.
Okay.
Yes. I used to live in Oklahoma before and in Texas since 2016. So I'm on Nepal assistant too. So I have my regular job between there and then this one.
And what made you decide to go down?
I was just watching the
HGTV.
Right. That was another problem. Like, yes, a lot of people they want to do. Even my friends, they are like studying engineering and I'm like, I want to do something else. Yes, so everybody wants to do that. But I did my real estate investment class for 2 years, and when I was doing that, I had I didn't know about real estate. But one of my realtor friends suggested me that I should do the realtor and learn from the basics. So I finished that investment class in Kingery, and then I'm doing so. I want to do both.
Okay. Good.
My name is Maria Quintana. Many of the Marias around here. And I am a dual career. I work for the post office. I'm a milk carrier. And every day I go to my route, and one day there's a house for sale, and then come 1-2 weeks and it's not there no more, it's sold. And I go like that and I'm like, you know what, that's where the money is. So,
You know where the
and
vacant,
then I'm gonna, yes,
you know where the vacant houses are.
exactly. I know a lot of, yes.
Mhm.
I'm like, you know, I'm gonna do my knowledge to be used. I have to go forward and transition from my
Right. Yeah. Cool. All right. Online, we got Angie. Angie, you there? Okay, Rita? Anybody?
Yes, I'm here. Well, I'm a new agent. Just got licensed last month.
Who's talking? Because both of you are on mic. Angie or Rita?
Rita.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Rita.
Okay, I'm a new agent. Got licensed last month. Trying to get all the training I can get. I chose real estate because I have a passion to serve people and help people. And I guess I'm an HGTV. I'm just addicted to it. I like to watch it all day, every day. I like looking at houses, everything about real estate. I love it. Don't know how much I love, but just by being in it as a career, but I love everything about real estate. So I think I chose this because I feel like this is something my heart been set on for a long time.
Oh, okay, that's good. Angie?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. No, actually, I got my license, I believe it was in August. Right now, I still actually have my full-time job doing accounting for a construction company. I'm also working toward getting my license for mortgage loan originator.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of hard going back and forth, but yeah, and then my daughter, y'all probably seen her name come across, Jessica Chavez. She's also working with Keller Williams, got her license as well. And another daughter, Mercedes, who's fixing a test and get her license.
Oh, okay. Family affair. We've got that here too.
Yes, but I think it's time to move on. I've been with that company for 23 years and now I'm thinking for the next 10 years, try to get whatever I can with Keller Williams, the training I need and get this business up and off the ground.
Yeah, okay. Mark, you there, Mark?
Yeah, I'm here with you. I'm coming up on my, I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, go ahead and tell us about yourself.
I'm coming up on my first year in real estate. I'm also have another career as well, so I'm trying to make that transition. And so far, I'm on my second transaction, about to go live on it this next week. And I'm just trying to get it down as a business and, go full time and make it my thing. I've enjoyed helping people, kind of been around the housing industry since I was young. My dad has a stucco business. So grew up seeing like $1 million homes and how they go from start to finish and the possibilities there, and ended up matching paint for houses and then the industrial market, doing like epoxy coatings and stuff like that. So just kind of been around the industry and want to help people. And I saw firsthand with investments, the opportunities there. I'm looking for my third house now, the buy, kind of renovate and sell. So trying to help people kind of do the same thing, realize the potential growth of wealth in it.
Oh, sounds good. So how many classes have you guys done so far? I don't know.
I think this is the 7th.
Oh, okay. So
For me, but for them. this is
could
the
be
first.
right for,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was on yesterday.
so let me ask you how, I don't want to bore you guys too much. Have you guys been watching the videos or how have they been done so far?
Some of them
Yeah, no, you don't know. Well, there's this video here that's, man, I'll play a little bit of it. Typically, do y'all know what the class is? What the class is about?
this is about the powerful language.
All right. So basically it's we don't try not to use the word anymore, but it's scripting, right? Now, everybody watches movies, TV, you know, you watch HGTV, unscripted, quote unquote, but you watch movies, all your favorite actors, actresses, they all use scripts, right? Like, when you watch whoever your favorite is in a movie, they're really good. You think they're that person, you know? And this is no different. A lot of people are afraid of scripts in business because they don't want to sound like the telemarketer that calls you up and is like, hi, can I speak to Angie? Angie, would you like to buy, you know? And it sounds like they're reading off a piece of paper, right? But the way that I like to look at it is they're conversations, because in order to really be successful in this business, you have to have a lot of conversations with people.
Right.
And if you can have your conversations with people that you don't know sound like you're talking to one of your friends, then you're doing a great job. Because just think about the example I like to use is your doctor. You know, your doctor comes in, they ask you a bunch of questions. Sometimes they don't seem related, but he's trying to get a big picture of where you are before he makes a recommendation on what he should do for you. And you have to look at yourself the same way. Is you want to sit in front of people, find out what it is that they actually need, what their, you know, what their goals are, where they are, what their goals are, and in between is how you help, right? Because if I'm living here, if I want a bigger house here, what's stopping me from getting from here to here? So our job is to help them to go from here to here. But it's not like selling, you know, shoes where you can, yeah, you like these shoes, you'll love them, just take them home, right? Because it's a house. You're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. People don't just buy houses and you can't return them. So you're not going to convince anybody to buy a house. I mean, if you did, they actually wanted to anyway. They just made you feel like you convinced them. So when you have those conversations with people, if you can make them as natural as possible, as naturally as you possibly can, which takes a lot of practice, then you'll see that you won't lose as much business. Because what happens is typically people have conversations with people. The person will tell them something like, well, you know, I just want to think about it. And they don't know what to say. So they say, okay. And then they leave and they're like, oh, should have said X, Y, and Z, but you're saying this in the car on the way home, right? If you say that. But if you don't know what to say at all, then you're just like, okay. And odds are you're probably not going to do business with them. And the reason that most people say they want to think about it is because, one, you just probably didn't do a good enough job of making them feel comfortable and understanding where they are and where they want to go.
Yeah.
So I always tell people to think about yourselves. Like when you engage with a salesperson, like you guys probably see what the drug guys, reps come into the offices all the time, right? So, but when a salesperson calls you, like, how do you feel? How does it make you feel when you get a call, a cold call from someone? Not even a cold call. Maybe it's the guy that's knocking on the door. Hey, you guys interested in solar? And you just happen to say, see, right? Just right, just now. But let's just say you were interested, right? And you invite them in or set an appointment for somebody to come talk to you. Like if they just, like, okay, here's our solar panels. We're owned by Tesla. We're the greatest, you know, we make all this energy, blah, 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 blah. Most people don't go, yes, because you're owned by Tesla. Sign me up, right? Typically, we don't buy that way. You know, it takes, what I try to teach is us not trying to convince someone to buy something, but them telling us why they want to buy it. You want to be Yoda for your Star Wars people. You want them to tell you, like, hey, I mean, Maria says, well, you know, I need a bigger house, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Well, why do you need a bigger house? And she's like, well, because this house has just gotten too small and we just feel like we're all on top of each other. I mean, like, so does that cause a lot of, maybe issues with the rest of the family? Yeah, it's terrible. If people are all at each other's throat, wow, seems like that can be pretty bad. Yeah, you don't even know the half, right? So now I know what her problem is, right? Because when people say I want a new house, typically that's all you hear. Well, I want a new house, but why, right? So if you can get them to tell you why, and then it's a little more to it, but before I even would say, okay, how I can help you, because one, we honestly don't know if we can help, because we can't help everybody. Because there are people that will say, okay, I want to buy a house. And you're like, okay, great. You're excited, you're new. You're like, yeah, great. I'll set you up and show you houses and everything. And then, did you talk to a lender? No. And okay, well, I can set you up with a lender. And then the lender calls you and says, they can't buy a house. But you didn't ask them, like, okay, not so much like, hey, what's your credit score? But like, you want to buy a house. How long have you been thinking about buying a house? Well, probably for the last 5 years. Well, what's kind of stopped you from buying a house up until this point? Well, you see, then you might get the real answer. And that may let you know, okay, well, after they tell you the well you see story, you can say, all right, well, listen, right now, it's not from where you are, I'm not going to be able to help you right now. But if you talk to the credit repair or do whatever it is, save some more money, whatever it is they need to do, and if you take those steps, then I'll definitely will be able to help you. Because it doesn't make sense for you to run around town burning gas and time, showing people houses that can't afford to buy them. And a lot of agents do that because they just get excited because the person says, I want to buy a house. So you're almost qualifying the person and letting them know you're being a professional. Because oftentimes agents come into business and they don't see themselves as salespeople. Mac, are anyone up here think of themselves as a salesperson? Anyone? Okay. Anyone online?
You said a salesperson?
Yes.
I was in car sales.
Oh boy, here we go. It's Rita.
It's
Rita,
Rita.
we're not buying no buckets.
No.
No, so, right? So she was in car sales. We're gonna have to untrain you and train. But most agents don't see themselves as salespeople. But we've been salespeople from the day we were born, from the day that we were able to talk and like, I want that, mom. I want that, mom. She's like, no, but I want that. You don't understand. No, yes, I want it. No, yes, yeah, yes. And then here, take it. We were selling, right? But somewhere along the line between a child and adulthood, we find out that, oh, that's not so good. Or adults kind of beat it out of us. Stop doing that. So later in life, we still do it because if you want a raise or you want your friends to go somewhere with you where they don't necessarily want to go, you're convincing them, you're selling them to do what you want them to do. So unfortunately, and Rita, I hate to say this, but all the studies say that, people don't like salespeople. They don't like used car salesmen and realtors.
That's true.
They feel like we're pushy, right? But there's a way that you can talk to people, not feel that way, make them feel that way. Like one of the guys that I follow always says that it's our job, not for us to be comfortable, but for us to make the other people comfortable. And if you can master making the other person on the other side of the table feel comfortable, like you could be inside like, oh my God, this is killing me. I can't even, I'm getting through it. And then you get out like, oh, it was horrible. But at the end of the night, like I got a new client because they felt comfortable knowing that you understand their needs. And when you understand what a person's looking for and they can tell you why they're looking for it, and then you can say, okay, well, from everything you've told me, it sounds like I can help you. And this is what I can do. and then you lay out the things that you can do for them, then my next question is, does that sound like something that you feel will get you to that 3-bedroom, 2-bath house? And if you asked all the right questions, they're going to say yes. Then I say, but why though? You know why I would say that? Anyone?
Just get information.
No, not really. I would ask why.
So
Go ahead.
you ask why, so you can know exactly what they're looking for. I mean, like you said, we push it, tell people, they think we push it, but if you ask why, I mean, basically you're letting them know that you want to know what they want versus trying to just make them purchase something just to purchase something.
In a manner, what all I want them to do is to reiterate to themselves what they just told me. So basically, I'm not convincing them, they're convincing themselves. Like if I said I can do X, Y, and Z for you, does that sound like it'll work? And you say yes, and I say, well, why do you feel like it'll work? Well, because you did this and said that. And they're like, oh, okay. You just told yourself why you feel like it'll work. I didn't. So when I say, well, I don't have anything else, pretty much all that's left is for you to authorize the agreement and then I can get to work. You think the person will then say, well, wait a minute. And if they do, it's like, well, wait, you just told me why. I didn't convince you. You told yourself. So it's a very different way from how I was taught how to sell, which was more of the close. I'm sure everyone's familiar with. So like the guy was at my house the other night trying to sell his new windows. And the windows, first he quoted us a price of $16,000. And then he said, well, if you do it tonight, I can do it for 11. Wow, that's a huge difference. Yeah. You know, but we got this special, the night only. Well, not tonight only, but we got a special going on, so I can do it for 11. And I'm like, I'm just kind of sitting there. Because really, I'm just listening to his sales presentation, because that's all I do now, is to evaluate people, which is sick on my part. But my wife is like, and my wife's an agent here. She's actually team leader of our team. And she's like, well, what do you think? I said, well, there's a couple of things you want to do. And she's like, yeah, I need to get some prices on some other things first. And he said, all right, we're all salespeople here, right? So what if I could do it for $9,900 tonight? We went from 16 to less than 10 grand in 5 minutes. And I'm thinking to myself, like, why don't you just offer me $9,900 in the beginning? I know it affects your commission, but we wouldn't even have to play this game. And how many other regular people might sit here and think, well, you just went from here to here. And most people don't believe that, oh, it's just one night only deal. Because there's too much competition in the market. So your one night price, if you don't want to honor it tomorrow, then I can probably find somebody else to do it. And that's part of the reason that people don't like salespeople, because they feel he wasn't being pushy, but that's a pressure tactic, right? It's like, if you don't get it now, you're not going to get it. Not for this price. I'm like, okay, I'll bet you if I call you 2 days from now, you're just going to say no. No, houses are different. Houses are different in the fact, but the way people sell or present themselves to clients is not different, because the way they're taught is pretty much the same. It's like when people ask for an appointment. They may call you up and say, hey, I saw that your house was on the market. Ask you why it didn't sell, right? Okay, let's play along. So I saw your house on the market, Angie. This is a traditional way. Angie, I saw your house on the market. I noticed it didn't sell. I mean, how come you think it didn't sell?
Probably need to be maybe not enough bathrooms. maybe the houses around.
You think, okay, so you think your house wasn't,
Not too much for the.
too much for the neighborhood type of thing? Oh, okay. Well, I was looking at some comps and everything, and there's no reason I don't think it should have not sold. I mean, hey, is there, if I could get you the price you're looking for, would you be open to selling the house again? Oh, okay. Well, listen, I mean, I got some time actually gonna be in the neighborhood next week. It's really gonna be in the neighborhood next week. Well, that's what they say. I'm gonna be in your neighborhood next week, would Tuesday at 3 or Thursday at 7 work for you?
Well, we're gonna bring you back to walk out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take care of all that myself, but
No, I want somebody who actually
like what? Like,
do the perimeter around about all of it. Inspector, there we go, thank you.
well, that's putting the cart before the horse, though. I mean, you only need the inspector for the buyer. So I'm just trying to sell your house for you. I'm just trying to, you guys want to sell your house, and I think I can sell it for, what you're looking for. I mean, like I said, I got some time Tuesday or Thursday because I'm being neighborhood anyway. Which one works for you? Tuesday at 3 or Thursday at 7? How do you feel right now?
I feel a little bit intrigued, a little bit pressured.
See? But that's how pretty much everybody's talking. Right? So versus, hey, Angie, it's just John with Keller Williams. Just wondering if you could help me out for a moment. Come on, keep playing along.
Okay. Yeah, what you got?
Well, I'm not sure if you could just yet, but I saw that you previously had your house on the market. I was just curious, were you still thinking about moving?
Yeah, so maybe about a month or two.
No. Where are you gonna move to?
Well, we were looking at another house.
Wow, okay.
Just thinking and looking at other options, but we like one across the town.
Like the house across town. Well, curious, did your agent tell you or give you any reasons why the house didn't sell last time you had it on the market?
They just said it was the economy.
The economy. Yeah, I mean, things, with COVID, things have been kind of up and down. What's the reason you're actually looking to move?
The school. The school ratings.
Makes sense. So with this being November, well, let's say, yes, November. So would you actually want to wait till school's out, or do you want to move during the middle of school year?
If there's an opportunity as far as it's available, why not? I think that we're at a good point where we should transition.
Got you. So I mean, it sounds like moving, getting the kids into better schools is really important, you guys. So before we spoke tonight, had you given any thought or spoken to anyone else about putting the house back on the market?
No. We had thought about it and talked about it, but we haven't actually moved on anything yet. We're just collecting that money and seeing what money we have first.
Okay, so when you say seeing what money you have, what do you mean?
Like we're saving back for what our down payment. Yeah, very much.
Oh, okay.
Try to collect as much to save that we've got.
Okay, so I mean, it sounds like you guys were just like, you're going to use the sale of this house and then put some additional money down for the next house.
Yeah.
Got you. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Man, wow. It sounds like, where you guys are, is not a bad position right now. Sounds like things are pretty good, but let me ask you this. What happens if you stay in the same house for the next, maybe 2 months, 2 years, or next decade? Like, how will that impact the kids if you don't stay?
If we don't stay or if we stay?
If you stay, excuse me, I said, if you,
Stay.
yeah.
Well, there's school or education. Hope he does well, I think it's important.
Right. Well, I mean, it sounds like what I do might be able to help you. I mean, if it's okay with you, I could tell you a little bit about that.
Sure.
How did you feel there? How did you feel? You tell me.
Still intrigued because I wanted it to happen.
Right.
But yet weary that I'm being pushed a little bit to do something right now or to schedule something. And it seems a little bit like sketchy a little bit because you didn't back up and it made me feel real comfortable about what I wanted.
See, but that's fair and that's good feedback, right? So to make you feel more comfortable about what exactly?
You just said, yeah, I'm at a good position. Yes, but let me move forward. He's a little bit like, well, no, that's good. Okay. You're just being a salesperson, really. I mean, that's what you do. You try to get what you want. But I didn't feel that. I felt like it had to happen now or you were going to go away and then maybe I won't get somebody else to help me.
Okay, see, well, the next part of that would have been once you said it was okay for me to tell you what I did, right? Then I would say, hey, well, what we do is this X, Y, and Z, right? Then I'd ask you, based off of you want to get the kids into a better school and some of the things that I do. I mean, does it sound like?
Yeah, you're using what I needed to further your goal.
Right. Ultimately, yes, that's what I'm doing. But at the same time, and I didn't throw, we'd be here for more time than they want to sit here and make them bored on Zoom because they're not in the room.
Yeah.
But it's a little more to, like, as far as the questioning. But it's about more so not making you feel pressured, because I wouldn't have asked you like for an appointment tonight. I was just asking you, what you did, like for permission to tell you what I did, and then if you had said no, I'd have been like, oh, I understand, that's not a problem. I mean, if it's okay, I can reach you at a different time if that's okay with you.
I understand.
So
That was great to hear the whole process, because making the open-ended questions flow with conversation and stuff like that.
and I don't know if you noticed, like, I wasn't trying to be fast and sounding almost like I'm talking now, like I'm almost thinking about what I'm saying and not trying to sound like I really know my script and I'm just blowing through it. Like, that's intentional, right? Because again, you want the other person to feel comfortable. And sometimes you're just not a match with another person, right?
Right.
Because
you already get that feedback.
Yeah, right. Because my wife and I work that way. If there's someone that either she's not comfortable with, or she thinks, or even if I'm talking to someone and it's a female that I think would be more comfortable with my wife, then I will basically hand her off to my wife. So sometimes it's just not I mean, would you agree with that, Rita? Like if someone walked on a car lot, that everyone just doesn't click with that person? Rita left already? What about you, Mark? What do you think about that?
Yeah, you're not necessarily going to mesh with everybody, but you know, as long as it's not where you just can't work with someone, like you said, like you slowed your language down, but if you were talking to someone that was showing that they were in a hurry, like almost in a hurry, or they were talking real fast, you would probably pick up the pace a little bit and meet them
A
with how
little
they
bit,
based
a
on
little
personality.
bit, but at the same time, then that's letting them dictate the conversation, right? Because typically, there's some people that talk fast normally, right? But then there's sometimes people try to just control the conversation. And the only way that you can get back control of the conversation is by asking them questions and actually slowing them down. Because once you lose control of the conversation, then before you know it, you're walking out the door and you're like, well, what happened?
But when you're talking, you actually have to be thinking of saying the right word, and you know, depending on the person you're talking to.
Well, not necessarily. It's all like, it's all right here.
Okay.
3 pages. It's a script. It's all really questions, right?
Mhm.
And if you write down, like some of the questions are for a listing consultation. And I'll just read through it. It's like, okay, thanks for meeting with me. What was it about my ad or letter or however method it was that they found, if it wasn't a personal connection? Like, what was it about that ad that got your attention? One that tells me, I'm trying to find out, are my ads effective? What you thought about it? What moved you to contact me, right? Because that's important anyway to know, how your advertising is working. And then I would ask, is anything else that got your attention on it? Because typically the first answer we give people is just the first thing that flies out of our mouth, right? And if it's a couple, I will ask each person individually, because we don't think alike. What my wife wants is not always what I want, and vice versa. So if I were to say, what are you looking for in your next home? And person next to you is sitting there and they're like quiet, then I would say, are you looking for the same thing? I mean, and typically it's not, and if sometimes people get caught up in the person that's talking, right? The one who's leading the conversation from that side, you might look over, but the other person is doing all the talking and you think, well, that's the boss, right? They're the one. Usually one that's doing all the talking is not the boss or making the decisions. So if you don't include them, like I spoke to a person once and they were like, yeah, I love the person, but then my wife hates him. But why? And so you got to try to engage both parties and get, because if you can find out, because if they're selling their house or even buying a house, they've come together on that part, hopefully. Sometimes, not always, right? Sometimes it's one wants to sell and the other one doesn't. But that's also can let you know whether you're going to be wasting your time. Because typically when people put houses on the market and then they go off the market, unsold, as canceled, is because the people were unsure in the beginning on whether they should sell it. Sometimes it's circumstance. My job changed, we're not moving after all. But a lot of times it's just, we decided we want to stay because they weren't clear on the reasons why they were moving in the first place. That makes sense. And then I would ask them what we call situation questions, like, so how long have you lived here? What do you like about where you live now? Because basically I just want to paint the picture of where they are today. Like, what do you like about your house now? Even though they're selling it, like, what do you like about it? And what would you change about it if you could? It still give me more insight into how they think. Well, I mean, we love the neighborhood, we love the neighbors. So they would probably be looking for a similar type of neighborhood, right? But the house is just too small. You know, we don't want to go through the expense of getting a contractor and permits and adding a second addition on the floor, you know, making a second floor. So that just tells you a little more about them. And then, you know, you would ask questions like, you know, gauging them on how much they think, because everybody has an opinion on how much they think their house is worth, right? We all think our house is worth something. And whether it's accurate or not, I won't debate it, but I just want to know what they think and how they come up with that number. Like, oh, I think it's worth 500,000. Could be like, well, where'd you get 500 from? Well, I looked on Zillow and his estimate says, and like, nowadays they're not that far off. You know, you could be right. I don't know, but it's my job to find out for sure, right? But you don't want to engage in basically verbal combat, which is, oh, those estimates are wrong. Because if I tell you, if you say to me, I think our house is worth 500,000 because of this estimate, and I say, those estimates are not accurate. How does that make you feel? Well, I mean, besides heartbreaking, like, does it make you feel a little like, well, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about? Like I'm insulting your intelligence a little bit?
Yeah.
And even if it doesn't click automatically, those are subconscious things that, you know, people think about.
Yeah, and just people don't like to hear people talking about other people.
Right.
So it's finding your business and
Yeah.
the house.
Right. So if you're careful on the way you phrase things and not, you know, I mean, you can challenge people, but not in the sense of challenging their intellect. Because most people aren't going to say, oh, you're making me feel stupid because I put my house on Zillow and try to sell it by myself. They're not going to say that. They're just going to be like, okay, well, you know, thanks, John. But they're going to say when they hang up or when they put you out, they're going to be like, jerk. Yeah, right. So, and then one of we go from, you know, asking more about, you know, how they get to that number and go into what we call problem awareness, you know, is finding more about what they don't like about where they are, right? So you said you liked you told me what you liked about the house. I mean, maybe you tell me a little bit about what you don't like. Well, I don't like X, Y, and Z, right? And then I always like that, because again, if I ask you, how are you doing today? What do you say? We all say fine. We could feel like jumping off the step, right? But we're gonna say fine. And then the next day, like, oh my God, did you hear what happened? But we all do that, you know? So it's the same thing. It's like, what do you like about something? And they tell you, and then you're like, well, what would you change about that if you could? It's even along the lines of, well, you know, we know a realtor, we had a realtor, blah, blah, and we're thinking we might put it back on the market with them. I mean, that's not a problem. Tell me, what did you like about what they did for you the first time? Well, you know, they did X, Y, and Z. Well, what would you change about that if you could? Everybody has something to say. Our spouses, everybody, significant others. What do you like about her? Oh, she's great. What would you change about her? Well, hold on, let me see. That's the real answer. And that's where the business is. Because you got past the, oh, I'm fine. Well, I'm not really fine today. Let me tell you about a little bit what's going on. And if you can get people to feel comfortable enough to tell you about a little bit what's going on and listen to them. I mean, it almost sounds like we're in psych class, but in reality, you are. And agents, you'll hear agents that have been in the business say that they feel like they're people's psychologists sometimes. Because when people are comfortable with you, they tell you everything. You're like, I didn't need to know that much, but okay. You know, and then from there, after they give me the kind of some of the real reasons why they're doing things, I would go to asking what we call solution awareness. Is basically, before we spoke today, you know, what have you been doing to find a new house? Been looking on Zillow, Realtor.com, or you might even get, well, I went to see a few houses. Bing, that's when your antenna should go, oh, really? You went to go see a few houses? I'm like, how long have you been seeing houses? That means an agent has been showing them houses because they can't get in houses without an agent. So that means you should ask more questions about that relationship of that agent. Because there will be people that will call you and say, hey, I just saw this house, it's on the market, and I was wondering if I can go see it. And you're like, oh, it's a live one, got one. But they've got an agent who was busy. They called their agent was like, hey, I can't show you right now. Okay, that's fine. And they hang up and they call somebody else. And then you go show them the house and they're like, oh, I got an agent already. And you're like, what? So that's why asking, my wife likes that's the question she asks whenever she talks to a buyer. It's like, well, how long have you been looking? You know, it's like, well, I just started. You know, typically they're just online. Been looking for a couple of months. Well, how? I mean, what have you been doing? How you been looking? You know, and if they say they've seen houses, you know that there's an agent. And then we get into more of what I asked you about. It's called a consequence. What happens if you stay in your house for the next 2 months, 2 years, 2 decades? Like, just to make you think about what happens if you don't move, because you said you want a better school district. But what happens if you don't? I mean, but again, it's it's all designed for you to have a conversation where people think about what they're answering and not just give you the standard answers. Because the standard answers, you can do business like that. You can do a lot of business, but you'll probably lose business that you'll wonder, like, how could I have gotten that business? It's just because, one, they just didn't feel comfortable enough or they didn't trust that you can get done what they want. And most people are polite. They're just like, oh, we'll just think about it. We'll call you. They'll never call you. So, and go from there. Is, you know, once you say that, well, it's really important for us to get these kids into school, right? The school over here is just not good. I mean, then it's like, well, it sounds like that's pretty important to you, you know. And then I ask for permission to just and say, hey, well, it sounds like what I do can help you. It's okay if I tell you a little bit about what I do. And the part of me, this is just me telling what I do, is not 30, 40 minutes. That's boring, right? It's just a real brief. If you're selling your house, it's, you know, besides the basics of us putting your house on the market, going on MLS and all the different websites, you know, what we do also is we do a little something different. We look for what I call move down, move up buyers. So let's just say your house is worth $500,000. What I'm going to do is look for people who are in $250,000, $300,000 houses that are selling, because odds are that's the house they're moving into. And the data shows us most people actually only move within 5 miles of their current home, right? So I'm looking for people in that radius. But then I'm also looking for move down buyers, people that might be in an $800,000, $900,000 house. Kids are gone. They got rooms that they don't use. They still want a nice house. So they're not going to go from a $900,000 house to a $200,000 house. More likely they're going to be in that 5-6 range. So that's what we do. And then talk about, when you get an offer, how we'll help you evaluate the offer to make sure that it's one that's most likely to close, how we contact that buyer's lender as an additional way of making sure that the buyer is really qualified. And that's all the boring stuff that no one sees, right? We're just staying in contact with the lender. We're just making sure everything behind the scenes goes smooth. I'll call you once a week, give you updates. But when you don't hear from me, that means things are great. Because if I'm calling you a lot, we got problems. So to hear from me once a week, it's great, right? And then once we get the clip, go ahead.
Do you call the lender or do you call the buyer and see how's it going with the?
Not the buyer. You can't call the buyer. So
you calling the lender. The lender will give you.
Most of them, yeah. You would call. So you're in contact as a selling agent, the listing agent. If you're the buyer's agent, we're talking anyway, right? Because you've got to send me the contract, and then you have to send the the qualification letter for the buyer, who has the lender's information. And now you call the lender and say, hey, we just got an offer on our property on XYZ with such and such. And they're like, oh yeah, they're good to go. And checked everything, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, how you guys looking as far as staying on track with closing? And they'll tell you, well, some of them are song and dance you. So, I mean, realistically. And some will be honest and say, hey, we're running a little behind, but we should be closing roughly around that time, And then there's the few. I've actually only had one from a buyer side lender that you would have thought she worked for us, the selling agent. That's how much she was on top of it. I mean, I called her after the deal. It's like, hey, I refer anybody to you because you're on top of it. She's like, that's how I do business. And that's good. That's the buyer's lender. Mm-hmm. So keeping in touch with the buyer's lender or getting in touch with the buyer's lender is important as far as making sure that you can get to the closing table as close to on time as possible for your seller. Or even if you're working with the buyer, you want to call that lender and be like, oh, I know it's my client. I'm not asking you for any financial information, but have you done everything as far as all the qualifications you need? Is there anything else you need from them? So when you present the offer, you're not surprised by, oh, well, we got 10 more steps we didn't complete, So, and then, like I said, from that point, you're just telling a seller in that instance that like, hey, like I said, we keep in touch with the lender. We make sure that we can get you closed as close to on time as possible. Once they get the clear to close, that's time for us to head to the celebration table. I don't like to call it the closing table because we're celebrating, you're getting a check, and I'll be there with you. And from there, everything's done. That sounds like something that would, really help you guys get from where you are today to a new house in a better school district. And if they say yes, but why? If they explain why, well, great. I don't have anything else. You have any other questions for me?
The time between, how many steps you have to go through to qualify, to get the house inspected? How long is the time where you say, okay, this is taking too long? Something wrong, what do I need to do?
Well, talking about a couple of different steps, right? So from a seller's perspective, once an offer is accepted, depending on the number of days, it's called an option period. The buyer has to basically, usually the market's kind of cooled off. So say 5 to 7 days, we'll just say 7. They have 7 days to get the house inspected, to do all they need to do to figure out if this is the house for them. Within that 7 days, they can walk away from it and only lose their option money, which typically might be $100. So after that 7 days, they can still get out. Technically, there's ways, but at that point, they've done everything. They've had their inspection. Their appraisal probably hasn't happened yet, because that's based off the lender getting an appraiser who can do it. They've been pretty busy. So the appraisal might not happen until after the fact, but the inspection is the most important part for the buyer. No, the inspector gives them a report. It gives them a report on everything they find in the house. Everything you find in the house does not mean that reports are 10, 15, 20 pages long. It doesn't mean that the seller's going to fix any or all, one or any of them. The seller can say, I'm not fixing anything. You can either take it or leave it.
Or negotiate.
Hmm?
Or negotiate sometimes. Negotiate.
Well, there's no really, for the seller, they don't have to negotiate anything.
If there is any.
No, if I have a condo right now. The inspection report said they need a new AC, and it was built in 1985. So the fuse box is actually in the bathroom, which back in 1985, that was okay. Not today, but it's grandfathered in. As long as there's no work that moves that fuse box, they don't have to move it. But the electrician recommends you move it because it's in the bathroom. Moisture, electricity, not a good combination. Plus the boxes were discontinued and found to be faulty anyway. But again, if you don't move it, the city says, stay there. So the buyers are like, we want these two things checked. There were other things, but they said, we want these two checked. My seller could have easily said, or my seller did say, well, we're not going to replace the AC. We'll just give you some money off. The electrical, they were like, well, you think they'll fix that too? I was like, no, you fix that. See, sometimes you got to tell them and tell them why. It's because this is electrical, it's safety. You can live without air conditioning. But if a fire happens and you knew that there was a problem after the fact, they could come back and sue you. So I said, let's just get it fixed. And she's like, okay, we'll do that. But they could easily have just said, we're not fixing anything, put it back on the market, or they take it the way it is. Then the deal's over. So, yeah, see, you're just starting, so there's a whole lot. They can take. So who want to call? I forget, forgive me, y'all. Who want to call? Mark, didn't you say you've done 2 transactions, or you're on your second one right now?
Yeah, I'm on my second listing.
Second, oh, look at that. Big shot over here. So how'd you get your listings?
Well, my first one was a personal property, and
Okay.
then the one I have now is a family member.
Okay, cool. Anybody else done anything yet?
No.
Nope. So how are you guys like talking to your friends about what you do? Nope. No, you're not talking to any of your friends. No one's talking to them.
Yeah.
You guys are secret agents, as they say.
I've been reaching out and just trying to rebuild relationships so I can have those conversations. Like I stopped by a previous place I lived, and I was in the neighborhood looking at houses, and I stopped by and they didn't answer, but I just left a card and they called me back, and they're actually thinking about selling. But I kind of got to the point where they're like, oh, let me think about it. I've spoke with them twice now about it, but they're one of those ones that's real worried about losing out on commission and all that kind of stuff. I kind of explained to them the benefits of it, and
You explain the benefits of what?
of working with a realtor and what you can lose out by and gave them examples of people that have went at it themselves and the
potential for risk and all that kind of stuff.
So you try to scare them.
No, it was a long conversation. I did a little
No, you
bit of
did.
time, but
Think about it, Mark. You told them all the risks what happens if you do this on your own, the risk that you try to scare them.
well, I spent more time talking about numbers actually because the guy's more of an analytical person.
Uh-huh. So what was his reason for not wanting to pay a commission?
I'm sorry, you broke up. What did you say?
I said, what was his reason for not wanting to pay a commission?
He was, because they're looking at buying a place from a family member. So they don't think they're going to use a realtor on the buy side. So he's
Right.
thinking he's not going to benefit because the seller typically pays. And so he's wanting to just net more out of his sale. So even though, and I explained to him, like, you could potentially still get the same or more by working with a realtor versus going at it by yourself. That's where the numbers came in on that side.
Well, how do I do that, Mark? Tell me. I'm your friend. How do I net more?
Well, by having an accurate look at the market and pricing your house correctly, by taking that strategy, we can make sure you net more by pricing it correctly and getting the most eyes on your house. And timing is another issue for this guy. So
No, I'm this guy. I'm him. You telling me?
Okay. So just by pricing your house correctly based on the market and getting the most eyes on it.
What does that mean, Mark? What do you mean? Like you're saying that the price I'm thinking, because my neighbors, they sold, their house is pretty much just like mine. They sold their house for $450. Like,
so yeah, I mean, you can take a look at theirs, and one of the things I do is I get an accurate view of the market by seeing what's sold and pending and active listings as well as expireds. So we take a accurate view of everything, and what you're really looking for is houses that have sold, because that gives you a more accurate picture of what the market's saying the house is worth. Because when you have a house that has expired, for example, that's the market telling you a couple different things. But if it was on the market for a long time and it didn't sell, there's a good chance it wasn't priced correctly. Would you agree?
Everything over here in our neighborhood has gone on the market and sold. Like I've seen some of my neighbors' houses selling a day.
And that could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. Because
why would it be a bad thing?
Would you agree that if you priced your house for $100,000 less than what it was worth, that it would probably sell within a day?
Yeah, but they didn't price their house for less. I mean, I know Joe showed me the paperwork. He asked $450 for it. He got $475.
Yeah, but did he have an appraisal? Could he have gotten $500,000 or $550,000? I mean, just because it sold within a day doesn't mean they netted the most that they could possibly make. But by taking an accurate view of your neighborhood and houses that have sold around it, I can give you a more accurate view of what it could be worth. And your idea of what your house is worth might be the right price, but it's important
this other agent came by here named Marie, and she brought me some comps. And she showed, I got it right here. I'm actually looking at it. And I guess it says within a mile radius, the average price for a house like mine is $450. I mean, everything is pretty much sold for $450. So how do you get me more money if everything's sold for $450?
Well, and it's not just about there's other things to consider. There's the negotiation process. So another thing we do is we make sure the lender they have, for example, is.
That's not talking about how you're going to give me more money, Mark. Mark, I'm not giving you a hard time, but that's how.
No.
That's how, because you're kind of dancing around stuff because, you're like here, there, and almost everywhere. But the control of the conversation, you sound a little unsure, right? So that's why I'm questioning you more, right?
Mhm.
So you're telling me these different things, but you don't actually know that, like I said, until I said Maria had been over here and she showed me comps, right? So now with almost what you have done, if you, not for your friend, I'm saying, but in a regular case, is you've lost credibility with me because of the fact that you're telling me something that another agent has shown me on paper, and you're saying something completely different, right? So if I'm saying to you, we're having a conversation, and you've told me all, everything I want to know about your reasons why for moving, and then you say, well, let's play along. So Mark, I can understand that money is an issue, but tell me, just so I can understand where you're coming from, like, what's your reason behind not wanting to pay a commission?
Because I don't think I'll benefit, because I'm not going to be buying with a realtor. So the seller's not going to be paying my commission.
Well, you hold on, time out. Like, you're the prospect, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not following, Mark. So I understand you're not buying. So what do you mean when you say the seller's not going to be paying your commission? I mean, I get that you're buying from a family member, there's no agent involved, but I'm talking just from the standpoint of selling your current home, because most homes are sold or a buyer is brought by another agent. So are you going to look to pay the other agent, or I'm just kind of confused? Just help me out a little bit.
No, I mean, I understand that the work that's done by both sides and that their, commissions are paid. But what I'm saying is, when I get ready to buy, because I'm not going to be using a realtor, I'm going to be paying the closing costs, and I'm going to be probably paying to have the contracts done and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to benefit from the seller paying my commission because I'm buying from a family member.
Some representation.
Hello?
Hello?
Was that smile on your end?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh,
Sorry.
I was like, who was that?
I just
that's
came in.
okay.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay, Maria. Okay, yeah, no, Mark, no, I get that you're not. What, maybe I'm not being clear. That's my fault, Mark. Is what I'm saying is that, if you're talking about selling your house on 123 Main Street, right? Are you going to sell it on your own so you don't have to pay any commissions, or are you looking to just pay a buyer agent the commission for bringing you a buyer? That's just the part I'm unclear about, because I get that you're not going to be, there's no commissions involved with the purchase of your next home. I'm talking about your house here on Main Street.
Yeah, and right now I'm not unsure if I'm going to list it myself or use a realtor. So I know the risk involved, and I haven't done contracts, so there's value in a realtor. But with the commission side of things, I'm worried about when I get ready to buy that, I'm going to be looking at all those costs again. So I want to net the most out of this.
You're looking at the closing costs, is what you're saying, is the cost that you're looking at doing, again, as far as the.
Well, not only that, but by losing out on the paying commission now to sell my house, I'll be netting less. So when I get ready to buy, having those other costs involved.
Got you. So, I mean, it sounds like, so basically what you're telling me is that you want to have as much money on your neck on the purchase side, and not come out of pocket so much on the sales side, right? Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. No, okay, I got it. I think we were just kind of, and again, like I said, Mark, it's my fault. You know, sometimes my wife says sometimes I just don't know what I'm talking about, but you know. So okay, I got you. Well, listen, if there's, you know, anything that I can do for you down the road, just let me know, because, and we can break here. A conversation like that, where the person, and this is a friend of yours, right? You talking to?
Yeah, it was a previous neighbor.
Yeah. So sometimes there's just not business to be had, right? Because if that person is adamant about, okay, well, I don't want to lose money on this side, you trying to tell me, like, example of how do you respond when anyone tries to tell you something? Like when you believe something and I try to tell you something different, like what is typically the human response?
We get defensive.
Right. So if I know that you're dug in on your position, there just may not be any business there for me, right? If things change, Mark, hey, you know, give me a call. If you need some help, I'm here. You know me, buddy. You know, we live next door to each other. That sound cool? And you'll be like, yeah, cool, right? Because it just might not work.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is he's talked about moving for a long time, but when I touch base with him again, and because I ran comps for him and just gave him a range, because I told him, you know, I needed to get in and look at his house and see what kind of condition it is and whatnot.
Right.
But I when I contacted him, reached back out to him, because he had asked me to get back with him, they were actually had got a storage unit, so they were starting to declutter a little bit. So they're thinking more heavily about it. They're in the point of the stage where their daughter's finishing up college, so it's a bigger house than they need, that kind of thing.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I mean that's one where you might have to fall back a little bit, and because if like you said, if he's an analytical guy and is really into the numbers, right, and just looking at it from dollar and cents perspective now, and I'll say that, but there's still some emotion involved in this, because human beings we're not Dr. Spock. Every decision we make, even though we claim it might be logical, is not logical. We just try to justify it after the fact. But if he's entrenched on his position because he believes those are his numbers, you telling him differently more than likely is not going to convince him, right? So if you kind of fall back and just check in with him from time to time and see how things are going, if something changes and he does try to sell it on his own, ideally you would hope that the other person that he calls and says, hey, listen, I tried this, it didn't work out. Can we work something out, you know?
Yeah, and that's kind of the approach I took, because I tried to make him a few more touches. So I sent him just an overall market report and then some steps to think about before you sell your house. And,
Well, I would recommend this, right? Because every agent does that. If he happens to come across any agent, they're going to do the same thing. Be more of the friend. Hey, man, I'm just checking. Listen, hey, John, I'm just checking, man. See how you've been doing, you know? I know you guys been talking about selling that for a while. You don't even have to have that conversation, quite honestly, right? You can just call and be like, hey, just checking in and see how you and the family doing. Oh, Mark, we cool. Everything's been going good. How's the real estate going? Oh, man, it's going all right, you know? You just having a conversation. It doesn't always have to be a sales piece, right?
For sure.
Make any sense? And I'm not saying don't have a drip campaign, like you can set them up on an email or, you know, but I would, and I'm not saying that you're doing this, I'm just saying it. Don't make every touch be a sales touch, right? I've lost out on business in the past from calling people and going straight to business, and then them asking me, basically, you didn't really check on to ask me how I'm doing, especially when I knew some things had happened to them, right? There's two people I'm thinking of that I knew something had happened prior, but I called and just started talking and then started talking about business. And they're like, well, you never even asked me how I'm doing. And I'm like, oops, you know, I did that, made that mistake twice, won't do it a third. So that's cool though, Mark. I think just get a little, if you can, anytime there's some type of script practice role play, I would jump on. I recommend that to everybody, and that's something we talked about today in our ALC meeting. It's something we all should be doing more of, because when you think about it, if you're just using sports as an example, there's no professional athlete that doesn't practice in order to perform at a high level. And oftentimes we step out on the field having practiced once or twice and then wonder why we're not having the success.
Yeah, I had someone tell me once that they would, because one of their parts of their business, they'd make cold calls. And before they made calls, they would script with someone, a partner over the phone or in person for like 30 minutes. They'd take turns. And then, you know, a lot of times between one or two of them, they'd be having the same type of conversation over and over again over time, you know, so they had different scenarios that came up and had everything fresh on their mind, and it made it a lot easier to go through things.
Right. And you can't be easy. Like, you don't want to be super difficult, but even if someone is super difficult, because not all calls are like that, but when you get someone that's super difficult, if you practice hard, in the coaching group that I'm in, one of the guys that I really would like to always listen to, he's a former Australian Special Forces guy. And he talks about how in the Special Forces, they had a motto of train hard, fight easy. So it's the same thing. If you practice hard and you role play and script and make it difficult, then when you get into that difficult situation, you're like, this is not even as hard as my role play partner, you know? Makes it easy. But it's uncomfortable, which I think that's the reason why it's like, that's why I told Mark that I'm not trying to give him a hard time, but that's how some people can be. They question you. And in today's world with the internet, they question us from the time we get in the door. They think they know more than we do, you know, because they saw it on Facebook, they Googled it, or they watched it on YouTube, you know, so you got to contend with that. Anybody else on the call want to play? Mark, that was great, man.
Oh yeah, I appreciate it.
Where's Maria? Maria online. She jumped on like she had some things to say. Maria?
I'm still here. I'm just sitting in traffic.
Oh, you're in traffic?
Yeah.
Okay. Maria, have you been in here?
I took.
Your voice sounds familiar.
Yes. So I started back in August, but I went to one of the first Ignite meetings, but then I had some family stuff happen, so I had to step out. And now I'm back restarting again. I had my first closing since then though, so.
Cool. What'd you close? Who'd you close?
I closed my cousin in Granbury. It was a lot.
Oh, okay.
Like land. It was a little bit difficult, but you know, it's with her, it was along the lines of so it was unfortunate how we started talking about it, because her dad had passed away recently, which is the reason I had to step off. But during the whole ceremonies, religious and stuff that we were doing for him, it came up that I was a real estate agent and I was new on the field. And she's like, well, I've been thinking about buying some land or maybe a house. I'm just not sure yet. And then it wasn't the time. So I told her if she wanted, we could set up another time to meet, like outside of the whole family thing that was going on. And we can go over some numbers and see where exactly she was at. She was not ready for a house. So I did tell her that straight up. She didn't take it very well at first, but I did let her know that, you know, her being my family member, I wasn't going to put her into a situation where down the line, maybe 6 months down or a year, she would have to sell that house and be back at square one.
No, that's good on your part. Sometimes you have to have a hard conversation, even if they're not family members. You have to like, hey,
Right.
listen, I mean, I know you want that house and on paper you can afford it, but do you really? You know, your lenders will tell you can afford more than you can afford. They don't take into account oftentimes all the other bills or life popping up, you know? So sometimes you have to have a hard conversation. All right, cool. Well, be careful out there in traffic so you can. Hey,
Right.
Rita, want the car saleswoman.
I'm here.
So Rita, let's play a little game.
Okay.
All right. Rita, we know each other, but we haven't spoken in a little while, right?
Mm-hmm.
So ring ring.
Hello.
Hey Rita, it's just John.
How you doing, John?
I'm good. How you been doing?
I've been great. I've been good. What about yourself?
Oh man, I can't complain. I hadn't spoken to you in a month of Sundays. Seems like.
This John who?
It's just John. You know me, John from. I used to work the car lot with you.
Oh yeah, John. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been some time, right?
Yeah.
How you know how I remember we used to talk all the time. You used to talk about your family. Well, how's your family doing?
Oh, everything's been good. I've had a baby. I'm a new mom.
Oh wow!
Life's been
Congratulations!
good. Thank you.
Congratulations! Are you still working at the car lot?
No, I just got into real estate.
What, you too? What, you did?
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing since I left the car lot. Wow, that's cool.
What? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course you wouldn't. I hadn't spoken to you, right? That's my fault though. You know, I didn't keep in touch, you know. Yeah, but I mean, what else? I mean, besides being a new mom, I know that's exciting. But I mean, you guys did you get a chance to do anything, you know, since COVID ended?
No, since COVID, just being a mom.
Just being a mom.
That's it.
Wow. Okay. Well, what you got any plans for, you know, the holidays? With you going anywhere with the new one?
I do plan on going back home to Mississippi.
Oh, okay.
Spend time with some family, my sister and my aunts. I'm gonna go back home.
Okay. That sounds like it'll be a good time.
Yeah. What about yourself?
Well, we were gonna go to, you know, my wife's in Alabama, but we just decided, you know, we'll stay here this year. So with all the flight cancellations and stuff, we're just, you know, not trying to get stuck in Alabama.
Well, yeah, you're right. Alabama's not that far. You can drive.
Yeah, right. I did that once. I won't do that again.
Oh, okay.
Actually, twice. She moved out here, and then one other time she tricked me into driving out there for Thanksgiving. I was like, I'll never do that again.
Right. I got you. I understand.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no. I mean, I thought about you, so I just wanted to instead of sending you a text, I was like, let me just call Rita and see how she's doing. And it sounds like you're doing great, new mom and everything. That's really cool, though.
Yeah, I'm glad you reached out to me. I mean, you in real estate, I'm in real estate. We can link up sometime, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Let's you know, after the holidays, maybe let's connect and see how we can, you know, either help each other out or, you know, whatever.
Yep.
Sound good?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, I got your number. I won't be a stranger. And like I said, I'll call you after the holidays.
Okay.
All right. Well, you take care.
You take care too. Thanks for calling.
Right. Bye-bye. So that's what we call the forward call. Right. So that's how you call they tell you to call your spear. I ain't really because once you ask, are you still doing X, the normal human response, well, what are you doing? Oh, I'm selling real estate. And you don't have to go on a pitch, but you say it. But all you're doing, especially if you haven't spoken to somebody in a while, you just want to plant the flag of, okay, I'm touching base. And then maybe you touch base by text or some other method later on. And, you know, but you don't want them to really feel like the only reason you're calling me is because you're trying to get some business, right? I mean, they may know it, but you just don't want to be, hey, you know, I'm selling real estate now. Well, I hadn't spoken to you in a year. Like, and you just want to call me and tell me that? They might not say that, but then we like, yeah, I'm selling real estate. Is there anybody you know, if you know anyone that's looking to buy or sell, you know, let me know. And they'll be like, yeah, I definitely will. All right, well, I'll talk to you later. And then they're going to hang up. I ain't spoken to her in a year. Like, would you do that? So I really picked up the not taking yourself out of an equation from my first job. That when I moved to Texas, I used to work, our company used to work a lot with Procter and Gamble. So we worked with brand managers on different, like CoverGirl and just a bunch of different brands they had. So they sometimes we'd go down to San Antonio and they'd have focus groups. But when CoverGirl changed their logo, it's like, hey, you guys like this logo? You love it? And the slogans and everything, and everybody's like, yeah, we love it. I'm like, you're paying them. Most of the people aren't going to tell you they don't, right? But what I learned from those brand managers was they would create things and think that you would buy it. But when I would say, would you do that? They're like, no. And what makes you so different than everybody else as a consumer? And not everybody thinks will buy the same thing, but we all tend to have some of the same, you know, habits and the way we do things, right? We might all look different, sound different, but as human beings, we kind of all do kind of the same things. But they would really create products or things and really believe like, I absolutely wouldn't do that, but you would, because a room full of people who got paid to be there told you they would. So when you're looking at speaking to somebody about real estate, try to just be that person and how you would receive it if they were talking to you, right? Not just the only reason I'm calling you is about real estate. The only reason I'm calling you is to ask you, do you have any friends that want to buy or sell? Because that's a good way to get your calls. Just call me again. Not answered. I mean, because think about it. I can call my brother right now. I guarantee he won't answer the phone. Not that he doesn't like me, just, you know, cell phones have made it easy for us to, I can talk to them later. Right? I mean, we all do it. So, I mean, we didn't go through the video, but what did you guys, man, does it help any? Or was I just sitting here rambling on for an hour and a half?
I think it was helpful. That's yeah.
Yeah, it's very helpful.
Uh-oh, what about you,
Yeah,
Mark? I'm scared to hear what you think.
I got a lot out of it.
Yeah, I mean, the video is, I mean, it's okay. I mean, it's a video. Like, sit here, we could have played the video for an hour and you'd have been like, everybody would have been in here looking like, oh, thinking about everything else you were going to do or want to do, you know.
What is it?
Scripts and how you should practice and role play, you know, how important it is to have a script. And like I said, they call it, or we call it conversations now, but, and I said, like I said, it's important to have what you want to say, to know what you want to say, because when the conversation goes off track, like they will, you have to be able to bring it back to where you want it to be. And the way you do that is by asking a question. Like, you literally have to cut people off sometimes, because otherwise people can just go on and on and on. Yeah, I mean, I got that, but listen, you know, Because I mean, we all, you know, people like that, right?
Yeah.
Like you'll say, well, what are you doing? Then they just, and then before you know, it's 20 minutes later, you're like, all right, because you're ready to get off the phone and you got nothing from the call, but listening to something that you didn't want to hear. So my coach tells us that, and I haven't, full disclosure, I haven't done it yet, but to write all the questions that you ever want to know down on index cards, and you just flip through them, like you might be at work on lunch break or something, and you're just flipping through the questions. Like, so then this way, when you're having a conversation, you know your questions and they just come to you. So because a script never flows the way it's written. So that's how you have to be able to know, okay, well, we were here, now we're here. I got to bring us back over here. So, do they let you guys go early? Okay, everybody ready?
Yeah.
No, look, I mean, y'all been at work all day. I mean, I've been here since I was, yeah, we had to go to Champions today at 8:30, so I've been here. I'm here between 8 and 8:30 every day anyway. So I mean, but if you guys ever, yeah, there it is. I give you my card. If you guys online ever want to, where is the, oops. Where's the chat? You guys ever want to get involved in any of the role play stuff that we're doing, just give me a call or something. What's going on? Okay, is anybody gonna fix this? Hello? Oh, here we go. The chat. I'm gonna put my number in the chat for you guys online. If I can type. Got it?
So are you a realtor and a team leader, or what do you do?
I just work for my wife. I do whatever she says. Yeah. Our office is down the hall on the other side, straight down this hallway.
Do you do property management?
No. The only thing,
Somebody that does-
Jamie, the only thing we do with properties is we will find, and this is just for select people, we'll find them tenants for their renters, I mean, for their properties, but we don't manage the properties, because that's actually,
Oh, yeah, that's what we do.
yeah, once you get into management, it's, you got like, you're supposed to have separate accounts, and
Right.
it can be, yeah, because there's been a lot of agents in the past that have commingled, and
Thank you.
oh, you're welcome. Thanks for coming. And
Yeah, I think he said
troubles happen.
his office is right there. I spoke with him.
yeah,
Because I did get calls for the property, about house to rent.
oh, okay. Yeah, you get a lot of that stuff. I would say this. All right, guys online, have a good night. Guys and gals.
Good night.
All right, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. I would say that when it comes to rentals, no, hold on. Get out of